This is the biggest, boldest, most ambitious cruise ship ever built. Royal Caribbean went all in on making this the ultimate vacation. It's got a water park bigger than some on land, 8 neighborhoods packed with everything from surf simulators to ice skating, and more restaurants than you could eat at in a week. And somehow it never feels crowded. But after spending a week on board, we couldn't shake one question. Is this still a cruise ship, or did they turn it into a floating theme park? And if it's the future of cruising, what does that mean for the people who love the traditional cruise experience? We rank this as our #1 cruise of 2024, but that doesn't mean it's perfect. In fact, there's one big problem you need to know before you book. Hey y'all, I'm Evan with Family at Sea, where we help make every cruise unforgettable. We've sailed on a lot of different cruise ships, but the Icon of the Seas, this one is different. It's the most ambitious ship Royal Caribbean has ever built, and maybe the most controversial, because for everything it gets right, and trust me, there's a lot, it also raises some big questions about the future of cruising. So by the end of this video, we're answering 3 questions every cruiser needs to know before stepping foot on this ship. Does this massive floating theme park actually feel like a cruise? Or did Royal Caribbean go too far? Is it possible to have an amazing, action-packed vacation without feeling overwhelmed? And most importantly, would we sail it again, or did this ship break cruising as we know it? This is our full review of the Icon of the Seas, what blew us away, what let us down, and the one big problem you need to know before you book. If you're ready, I am. Let's go. Royal Caribbean spent years designing the Icon of the Seas to be the ultimate family vacation, and on paper, it's hard to argue with that. It's the biggest cruise ship ever built, with over 20 decks, 7,600 passengers, and more things to do than some actual cities. They promised a game-changing ship that redefines what's possible at sea, and after spending a week on board, it absolutely delivers on scale, variety, and straight up shock factor. This ship is massive, and it's loaded with so much action that you could come on board and never run out of things to do. But here's where it gets interesting. With all that excitement, something unexpected happened. We started asking ourselves, does this ship still feel like a cruise, or did Royal Caribbean just build a floating theme park? And that's where things get complicated. Before we dive into the big problem, let's talk about what the Icon of the Seas absolutely nails. Because make no mistake, this ship isn't just big, it's brilliantly designed in a lot of ways. Now, I'm not going to do a deep dive into every single neighborhood. There's already plenty of ship tours out there if you want a full walkthrough. But what really stood out to us was how Royal Caribbean has taken this whole neighborhood concept and elevated it to an entirely new level. Thrill Island is a full-blown theme park at sea, and it's not just for show. We actually did the water slides, surf simulator, and even ice skating, and they did not disappoint. The Hideaway is basically a floating Vegas-style beach club. In the Aquadome, it's like stepping into the future. The scale of this ship is just insane, and yet somehow, even with 7,600 passengers on board, it never felt overwhelming. Okay, Evan, but did you ride the slides, or did you just take a picture in front of them? Oh, we rode them. And let me tell you, these slides are no joke. The drop slide, I had that brief moment of, well, this is how I die, before getting absolutely launched. It's fast, it's intense, and it's a legit thrill ride, not some watered down cruise ship version. Let's talk about the food. I'll be honest, Royal Caribbean's food has been hit or miss in the past, but on the Icon, they stepped it up. We had an incredible meal at Chop's Grill, their steakhouse, and the hibachi at Azumi was just as fun as it was delicious. And while Coastal Kitchen was a great experience, that's a suites-only perk, so we'll focus on the stuff available to everyone. But where they really outdid themselves was the entertainment. We've seen a lot of cruise shows, but The Wizard of Oz, easily Broadway production value, incredible sets, and amazing performances. This wasn't some cheaply thrown together cruise ship version of the story. This was the real deal. The Aquadome show was just as impressive, combining stunt diving, insane acrobatics, and even drones flying around mid-show. Now, the ice skating show, that one was just okay. Not bad, but compared to the rest of the entertainment, it didn't blow us away. But here's where things just get ridiculous. There is so much to do on this ship that we literally could not fit it all in. There's just so much happening at all times. I had to remind myself multiple times that I was on a cruise ship and not at Universal Studios. Wait, Evan, you're saying there's a ship this big that wasn't actually crowded? I'm smelling some baloney. That's exactly what I thought too, but somehow they cracked the code. I'll be honest, I was expecting pure chaos, but Royal Caribbean really figured out how to spread people out. The neighborhoods actually work. The virtual queues and reservations for popular activities keep things running smoothly. And because the ship is just so massive, it never felt like we were packed in like sardines. At this point, I was thinking, wow, they really pulled it off. They built the biggest cruise ship in the world, packed it with more activities than a theme park, and somehow made it work. But just when we thought the ship was perfect, we started noticing something strange. So at this point, we're thinking the Icon is incredible. The design, next level. The entertainment, top tier. The food, easily the best we have had on any Royal Caribbean ship. But then something started to feel off. We had been around this ship for days, done everything from water slides to the surf simulator, watched The Wizard of Oz, eaten some of the best restaurants, and even jumped off the edge of the ship on Crown's Edge. And yet, as much as we were blown away by what Royal Caribbean had built here, we started noticing something, and once we saw it, we couldn't unsee it. Okay, Kevin, let me guess, the price? No, the crowds. Now, you're going to say it's too expensive, aren't you? Nope, believe it or not, neither of those were the problem. In fact, we already talked about how well they handle the crowds, and yeah, it's pricey, but Royal Caribbean's been charging premium rates for years. That's nothing new. The real issue? It didn't always feel like a cruise. In fact, I barely remembered seeing the ocean. Wait, Evan, what do you mean? You're literally on a cruise ship. I know, but here's the thing. Unlike most cruise ships, where you're constantly reminded that you're at sea, the Icon is so packed with things that the ocean almost becomes an afterthought. And I get it, that sounds weird. It is technically a cruise. It's floating, it moves, it goes to ports, it does all the things that cruise ships do, but so much of what makes cruising special, those quiet ocean moments, those wide open views, that feeling of actually being at sea, kind of gets lost on the Icon. This isn't just some nitpicky thing. We actively had moments where we thought, are we even on a cruise ship right now? Okay, Evan, but what do you mean? It's still on the water. Are you saying they forgot to add windows? Not quite, but here's the thing. On a lot of cruise ships, you can walk out onto wide open decks, grab a chair, and just stare at the ocean. That's part of the experience. But on the Icon, that's actually kind of hard to do. There are fewer traditional open deck spaces, and a lot of the action is focused inward, toward the neighborhoods, toward the attractions, and not toward the ocean. Okay, Evan, but who actually cares? You don't book this ship to sit and stare at the water. That's fair. If you're booking the Icon because you want nonstop action, you're going to love it. But if you're someone who enjoys those classic quiet moments, sitting on a deck chair, watching the sunset, sipping a drink with a full ocean view, those moments are a lot harder to come by. The best example of this, the Hideaway. We love an adults-only escape, especially on a ship this size, but the Hideaway, it just didn't work the way we hoped. The space itself is nice, but the pool is way too small for the number of people trying to use it, and if you're looking for a shady spot to relax, good luck. Finding shade anywhere outside was shockingly difficult, which is not ideal when you're sailing in the Caribbean. And it's not just the ocean connection, it's the sheer size of this thing. It's one of the most impressive engineering feats ever built, but getting from one end to the other, that's a workout. I'll be honest, we actually like this part because after all the drinks and desserts we enjoyed, getting in those extra steps wasn't a bad thing for us. But for some people, it's a lot. Now, I want to be clear, none of this makes the Icon a bad ship. It just makes it a different kind of cruise. It's an amazing vacation, but it's not for everyone. So this brings us to the real question. Is the Icon of the Seas the future of cruising, or is it something completely different? Because if you love big, bold, action-packed vacations, this is hands down the best cruise ship ever built. But if you love that classic, laid-back, ocean-centric cruising experience, this might not be the ship for you. And that brings us to the next big question. Who is this ship actually for? Guys, before I continue, if you're thinking about booking a cruise, no matter which cruise line, my friends at Cruises It can help you get the best possible deal. They have access to exclusive rates, industry best perks, and discounts you won't find anywhere else. Plus, their cruise fare watch system tracks price drops until final payment, so you never overpay. To book your dream cruise at the guaranteed best price, click the link in the description below to get started. And if you love cruising and I want to make sure you always get the best experience, hit that like button and subscribe. It helps make sure you get more tips, honest reviews, and cruise insights to help you plan the perfect trip. I've got some really great content I'll be sharing soon, and you're not going to want to miss it. So at this point, we've covered the insane things this ship does right, we've talked about the one big issue that caught us off guard, but that brings us to the real question: who is the icon actually for? Because if you're watching this, you're probably thinking one of two things. Okay, Evan, so is this the best cruise ship ever or not? Just tell me already. That's a fair question, and the answer is it depends on what kind of cruiser you are. If you're the kind of person who wants non-stop action, high energy entertainment, and a ship that feels like an entire vacation destination by itself, you're gonna love the Icon. This ship was built for families, adventure seekers, and people who never want to be bored. Wait, so does that mean it's not for me if I just want to relax? Not necessarily. There are places to unwind, but the reality is this isn't a ship designed around relaxation. If you're someone who loves those quiet, open ocean moments, classic cruising vibes, and a ship that feels like a ship rather than a floating resort, this might not be the best fit for you. So you're saying it's basically Royal Caribbean's version of a theme park? Exactly. And for some people, that is the best news ever. For others, it might be a little too much. Now, personally, we loved it. It is hands down the most impressive ship we've ever sailed on, and for the right kind of cruiser, it's easily the best cruise experience money can buy. But for the traditionalists, this might be a peek into the future of cruising, and not everyone's going to be on board with it. So after spending a week on the Icon, one thing is clear: this ship is a game changer. Whether you love the idea of a floating theme park or you're still not sure it's the future of cruising, this ship is pushing the industry in a whole new direction. All right, Evan, but if this is the future, what does that mean for the rest of the cruise industry? That's exactly the question, because Royal Caribbean isn't the only cruise line shaking things up. New ships, private islands, and insane onboard experiences are launching left and right. Okay, great. So are all cruise ships about to turn into amusement parks? Not exactly, but things are changing fast. Some of it's exciting, some of it, well, let's just say not everyone is going to be happy. Okay, Evan, now you're just teasing. Where do I find out what's next? I got you. If you want to see what's coming in cruising, both the good and the bad, check out this video next, because trust me, there's a lot you need to know before you book your next cruise. And as always, thank you for watching, and until next time, may your seas be smooth and your horizons wide. Bon voyage!